Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Dialar's Tweetlick Tactics. One question I still often see in at least my Discord server is I need to know what teams beat what teams in PvP. A lot of people are interested in PvP. I tend not to make a bunch of PvP videos because no one watches them. It's very niche. I don't think the majority of people that play Eternal Evolution actually care about PvP except for the diehards. But just on reference, I'll usually get a couple thousand views on a normal video talking about a random topic, but a PvP video will get maybe 400 views. So maybe it's about a quarter to a fifth of the views. So I tend not to make them, but people still ask the question, what teams actually beat what teams in PvP? Now that is a very complicated question because it depends on your team's composition, your team's evolution, your team's gear versus the other team's team composition, evolution, and gear. There's there's at least 9 variables to every fight. So it's very hard to say this beats this, this beats this, this beats that. But what I can give you is some general guidelines, and I can show you what I do so that maybe you can get a guiding sense of where to go. But there is no cookie cutter, this beats this. So I thought I would use Hell Arena to do it. Now, the reason why I'm using Hell Arena is because Summit Arena and Hell Arena are both 5 teams versus 5 team game modes. You have to develop 5 full teams. So this is like I would say the epitome of what beats what, because when you get into like 3v3, you can start making a whole bunch of strange compositions. Now, this is the last week of the current Hell Arena season. Now, it is the leap season. That does kind of affect the PvP dynamics, but not really. It changes how you got to gear and little things like that, but it doesn't change the team versus team dynamic. As you can see, I'm currently sitting second. Now, I will probably end up third because Numa hasn't attacked me yet. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just trying to use that as a indication of that I actually do try and do succeed at PvP. I care. I actually care about PvP. I try really hard. So last season of Hell Arena, me being ranked second or third, that's cool. Hopefully that's enough credit to my name that lends some weight behind the recommendations that I'm going to provide you in this video. So let's get into it. We're going to use Battle Report. I have completed all of my fights for this season. So each one of these, the Battle Report has 15 fights, and there's 15 people you can fight. As you see, against Sharp and Numa, who are probably number 1 and number 2 in this bracket, I only beat one of Sharp's teams, and I only beat 2 of Numa's teams. I am not going to show you those fights because I want to show you stuff that wins. But as you can see, after those 2, 5-0, 5-0, 5-0, 5-0, 5-0, 5-0, 5-0, 4-1 against Nightmares, who's probably going to come in 4th or 3rd, depending on how that goes. Actually, probably 4th, since I think he went 1-4 against me. 5-0, 5-0, 5-0, 5-0. Okay, so Sharp aside and Numa aside, because I do believe they had Artemis. No. What did I lose on? My Summoners did not beat his Assassins. My Vanguards did not beat his Summoners because he's got an Awakened 10 Daniel, but everything else won, right? So that's pretty typical. I guess I am showing you Sharp. My Summoners did not beat his Assassins. You know, they won't. If your Assassin team has Korra and an AoE Assassin, my Summoners aren't going to beat them. My Assassins did not beat his Summoners because he's got an Awakened 10 Daniel. But my Vanguards did beat his Artemis. You see, he does have an Artemis Hunter team in there. My Vanguards did beat that. That's kind of cool. But my tanks lost to his Vanguards. And my energy lost to his tanks. But Sharp's got pretty much maxed out teams. So, in general, let's say Necromantics. When you're thinking of PvP, this is generally what teams beat what. So at the top, energy usually is the hard counter to tanks. Even with the new guy, Carabin and or Ray, Energy is still the hard counter to tanks currently. And I should say this is, what is today? January 5th. Because the teams are going to change with the introduction of new heroes. As of January 5th, this is what beats what. So at the tippity top of the spear, energy is the hard counter to tanks. Vanguards tend to be the hard counter to summoners. Keep in mind, though, that if the opponent has a A10 or like an A8, 9, 10 Daniel, it becomes a lot more difficult. Summoners are the hard counter to assassins, but only if the assassin team you're fighting does not have A, Korra, and B, an AoE assassin, aka Helen, Asuka, or Moto. As you see, I was able with my summoners to beat this Korra assassin team, and that is an X40 fully tempered gear Korra. But since he put Rickert on that team and not an AoE assassin, my summoners can beat it. So right now, summoners are kind of weak. You will definitely be able to punch up with them against assassins. If they do not have Korra, you're probably going to win regardless. But keep in mind, if they have Korra and an AoE assassin, you're not going to win unless you have probably an A10 Daniel. Assassins. What are assassins? Assassins right now are the hard counter to energy and hunters, unless it is Artemis hunters. So you see here I'm beating energy. And then down at the bottom, tanks are the hard counter to vanguards. I got a video out on that on the new tank team, as you can see, that is showcased on my team. Tanks are very good right now at countering vanguards. So let's go to the next guy, which is not the bot. We'll go to Invictus Joykill. What did I use? Summoners versus assassins. No Korra, though. You know, you're just going to be able to pretty much walk over assassins without Korra. Energy against tanks. You can see the teams that he was running. Vanguards versus summoners. Tanks versus vanguards. And as you see here, I was not running Carabin because he wasn't out yet. I was using the old school comp of Ray and Rez with the other three tanks. So tanks versus vanguard. And at the bottom, assassins versus energy. Let's go to Phantom. At the top, once again, vanguards versus summoners. Assassins versus energy. Energy versus tanks. Summoners versus assassins. He does have Korra and Helen, but he doesn't have a maxed Korra, which is also a condition, a win condition. Keep in mind as well, he only has a level 50 Cabal, so a weaker team, but at 7.2 million regardless. Summoners beat them. And then the bottom, tanks versus Artemis hunters. Okay, so I've used tanks to kill Artemis hunters. Keep in mind, though, look at the team, though. It's a yellow Artemis. Like, that's just basically going to be a very weak hunter team. Hunters, if it doesn't have Artemis, that's probably the weakest team in the game right now. And then summoners are probably next weakest, unless you got a very, very high awakened Daniel. But tanks, I will usually use tanks against vanguards. Phantom didn't run vanguards, he ran the hunters. Up top, we got vanguards versus summoners. Summoners versus assassins, energy versus tanks, assassins versus energy, tanks versus vanguard. You sense the pattern now. It's a very, very easy pattern. In a 5v5 setting, this is pretty much what you're going to do. Yabik. Okay, so tanks versus vanguards, energy versus tanks, vanguards versus summoners, assassins versus hunters. This was like a hunter / energy team, but in all regards, it was a hunter team. And then summoners versus assassins. He has Korra, but not a big Korra, and he's running Rickert. We're going to end at Nightmares, because I think Nightmares is... Well, maybe we'll go a little forward. Nightmares gave me a little bit of trouble. So, he was running hunters with Asuka. Now, since normally I would use assassins versus energy, which is what I did at the very bottom. You see my assassins beat his energy. My tanks beat his vanguard, which is what I normally do, but he has a weird team with Maz and Batu. My summoners did beat his assassins, and if we look at the team comp, why? It's because he's running Rickert instead of Fiona. for some odd reason. Probably doesn't have Fiona. But you see how the assassin team has to be pretty specific. Here, he did have Moto. He did have a maxed Cora. He did have Samael. He did have Dom. But again, he put Dominic in here. Dominic is very, very bad. Very, very bad against summoners. So I used my summoners against his assassins. I used Vanguard with Kaoru against his summoners. And then I used my energy up against his hunters, which failed. Probably because that's where he has his Fiona, and I'm assuming Asuka did the majority of the killing. Let's actually watch that one. Oh, I can't. It was over a week ago. Over a week ago? No, it wasn't over a week ago. I don't know why I can't watch that one, but we can't do it. And then let's look at Wolverine, and then we'll end it. So you guys understand the pattern? Summoners versus assassins. Vanguards versus summoners. Tanks versus vanguards. Energy versus tanks. And then assassins versus energy. The reason why I say assassins versus energy is because even if you have like a weaker assassin team, they can likely kill energy and hunters if you don't have Cora. But if you have Cora, that's going to allow you to kill a whole bunch more things. Okay? But I don't want to say, yeah, assassins are going to beat tanks. Assassins are going to beat vanguards. Assassins are going to beat summoners, which you can if you have Cora, but if you don't have Cora, which the majority of you don't, then assassins are going to beat energy hunters. So ladies and gentlemen, you can go back and review everything that I said, but for the most part, as of now, as of the heroes we have in game right now, those are the teams that hard counter their specific teams. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you can do so in the comment sections of this video. I highly recommend that you join my Discord. You can ask me there. But I still see this question come up quite regularly, and this is the answer. So now, when someone asks that question, I'm going to just give you a link to this video, and I will redo this video if things significantly change in the future. All right, ladies and gentlemen, tell me what you think in the comment section below. I will catch you in the next one. Cheers, peace, bye-bye.